Bob McDonald. Thank you. It's good to be back in Yellowknife. On an earlier trip to the north, I was in Fort Chipewyan, not too far from here, and I was introduced to an elder couple who were also elderly in age. And my host, who was also acting as a translator, said, "Why don't you ask them a science question that they would know the answer to through traditional knowledge?" Because this couple had spent their entire life living in the traditional way on the land. So I thought about that, and then I thought, okay, how do you navigate? How do you find your way out onto the land, and more importantly, how do you find your way back without getting lost? The older gentleman thought about it for a second, and then he said, "I don't know. I've never been lost." I was put in my place. And I realized that this person had a different set of eyes, that he saw the land differently than I do. And that's how I see science. It's another pair of eyes that you put on. And you look around at the same world that everyone else looks at, but you see it in exquisite detail. You can literally see a universe in a drop of water. You can go down into the atom and look at the quarks and the leptons and the incredible forces that hold the atom and indeed the whole universe together. You can look out to the edge of the universe at large and look backwards in time and see our place as a tiny speck in this huge emerging space that's getting larger by the minute. You can pick up a rock and you can look at an animal that walked around on this planet before humans even existed. Science is incredible in the way it can see the world and tell us how it works. And there's still a whole lot we don't know about it. And Canada is really good at it. We have excellent, world-class universities, colleges, and schools across this country that do world-class scientific research. We have, yes, and we have centers of excellence. We have centers of excellence that specialize in nanotechnology, genetics, high-energy physics. You know, the world's largest experiment right now, the Large Hadron Collider in Geneva, Switzerland, that discovered the Higgs boson that everybody got excited about, but nobody knew what it meant. Trying to understand how the universe was created, what started the Big Bang. Hundreds, and I mean hundreds of Canadians are part of that project. We're involved in international projects around the world. We're part of the world's largest telescope that's under construction. We're involved in telescopes in South America, the Canadarms on the International Space Station. We've had 17 Nobel Prizes in Canada. We've had 8 people fly in space, and one of them became the commander of the International Space Station. Yes, Canada does great science, and we're recognized around the world for that. Not only do we have great science, we have produced great inventions in Canada and given them to the world. Millions of diabetics around the world use insulin, developed by Banting and Best at the University of Toronto. Alexander Graham Bell was living in Nova Scotia when he invented the telephone. We even gave the world the light bulb. Now, you might think that Thomas Edison, the famous American inventor, invented the light bulb. He bought the patent from 2 guys in Toronto. They invented the bulb, he bought the patent and improved it. And Canada gave us one of the greatest inventions of all time, the zipper. Where would the world be without a zipper? So we do great engineering, we do great science. But our scientific eyes have also shown us that the planet is changing, and there's no doubt about it, and you're seeing it here in the north. In fact, the north is seeing climate change more than the rest of the planet because all of the greenhouse gases are being swirled around by the polar vortex and gathered in the north. So the warming here is faster than in other parts of the world. And that's why I believe Canada can step up to the plate and deal with it. Sometimes when you do climate stories or environmental stories, it gets really depressing. You hear about the disappearing ice. You hear about the loss of species and habitat. You hear about coral reefs bleaching and dying around the world. It's awful. It's like the earth has a skin infection called humanity. And we're just eating up and burning up everything in sight. And we can't keep doing this, and we know that. But Canada is now in a position to do something about it. And over the next 150 years, we can employ the terrific intellectual capital that we have on this planet to come up with some innovative ways, clean ways, to keep ourselves warm, to move from place to place, to not waste energy, to not waste food, to not waste water. These solutions are there. And if we encourage our young people to get involved in STEM, science, technology, and engineering and math. I'm not one of them. If we get our young people to get involved in STEM, and they become not just the scientists of the future to say, hey, I know a better way to store electricity from windmills when they're not burning, when they're not turning. I can store that somehow so we can use it. Or I can come up with another way of keeping our houses warm that doesn't contaminate the environment. I might even be able to find another way to get energy out of oil that does not produce pollutants. There's a challenge. These kind of things are before us, they're solvable, and Canada has that. And not only will we end up with products that we can export to the rest of the world, we can export our expertise. So Canada has some of the clearest scientific eyes in the world, and we stand a chance to lead the world in new technologies and new ideas and be a model for how this civilization can get on for another 150 years in this remarkable country that we live in. Thank you very much.